Hello, how are you? Hope you're good. So as you know from the title, today I'm gonna do a short, hopefully somewhat coherent review on Ink by Alice Broadway. If you follow me on Instagram and if you watched my videos before, you've probably seen this splash somewhere around before in my videos and my photos, because I mean, it's memorable, it's pretty, it's shiny, and it's copper. I have gotten this a while ago from a wonderful book subscription box called Book Club. This is extremely silly of me, but because the subchapters are divided with a butterfly, I just had a feeling this is gonna be all, you know, fluffy and really light, and just like, I have to be in a okay mood for that sort of book, and I'm not always in that, so I thought it was gonna be like a contemporary sort of. Well, boy, I was wrong. And I'm so glad that I was wrong, because this was much better than I expected. So this is a non-spoilery review. So to start with, this is a sort of a dystopian. I don't know, is this a dystopian? Probably, I'd say. Tattoos are not just an expression of your own, you know, feelings. Tattoos in this novel basically are mandatory, or you're just considered somebody who is called a blank, which is not a great place to be. It's sort of like a racist world against people without tattoos. They are called marks. They're a representation of your life and your status and your work, and hence the ink, and probably hence the cover. Not everyone has a talent to read the tattoos and stuff, but our main character does. So this whole system is sort of almost like a religion, and so yeah, after you're dead, if you're deemed worthy and if your life tells the story of a decent person, basically, it's supposed to be like a, you know, a sign of good character. You get flaken and your story is binded into a book that is then given to your relatives and basically grants you eternal life. Basically that whatever you do is not going to be unnoticed because it's going to be on your body. So it's sort of like a regime, you know. You can see how this could be misused. Our main character lives most of her life so far blindly sort of believing this, never really questioning it, never really having a reason to question this, but then something dramatic happens in this book. Now, I don't really consider this a spoiler because it happens in the first 2 pages. She loses somebody she really cares about, she loses somebody really close to her, and they sort of leave something mysterious behind that she goes and has to hunt and save, and we just follow her doubts and this faith, and it gets quite dark sometimes, and obviously, you know, like, people get skinned in this book, so it's not all fluffy. Now obviously I have to mention the cover, because I mean, you get a point even for this, because it's gorgeous. Like, this book is some sort of book porn. I really enjoyed the pace of the book. Never did I stumble and be like, oh my god, this is dragging too long and I have to like power through this. I didn't have that problem, but again, it really depends on your mood, and like, I don't know if reading in a different time I would have felt differently, but at the time that I was reading, I really couldn't put this down. I even was reading between like cooking and stuff, you know, when you're just waiting for something to saute or whatever. I couldn't put this down. I kept reading, so you know, chapters were short, which always helps a reader, as we know. The plot was interesting, sometimes maybe a little bit predictable, but I mean, depends on a person, I suppose. I really enjoyed the ending. I don't know if there's a second one, but I hope so, and if there is, I will definitely read it. But it could be a standalone as well, which is completely fine. Now, I can't say that I related to the main character at all, actually, but I think she is like your textbook YA character, but like a bit less so than some books, which is good, because like, and I mean, maybe if I were a bit younger I could relate to her better, but I did still enjoy the characters very much. I felt like characters had depth and had secrets and had their own, like, you could feel that well, I think that the author actually, you know, wrote their backstories, and the backstories would be transparent through the dialogue, and I really enjoyed that. Also, I extremely enjoyed the fact that this wasn't a romance-driven book, which is so rare in YA anything, really. So I really enjoyed it. That's not to say that there wasn't any like romantic sort of tingles, but other than that, it was really not all about romance, and I just appreciate that. As I said, I loved the characters. There were some adult characters as well, which I enjoyed. For one, teenagers had parents, and parents were evident and there, it upped the rating a lot, because I'm so sick of seeing, you know, all these books that teenagers go and do stuff and do like random stuff that's very dangerous, and then parents are just like absolutely absent from the books with no explanations, you know, or they're just killed off or something, you know. As you know, I don't cry in books, but 4 pages in this, I teared up. I didn't cry, don't be crazy, but I did tear up because it just hit some painful memories with a person from my family, and you know, it's just like it was good. It was touching. It definitely has darker moments, which I think is one of the main reasons why I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the concept of the whole thing, the regime here and the questioning of the regime, and the main character didn't make a lot of stupid decisions that usually we have in these sort of book. However, I do have to mention that the reason why this wasn't a 5-star book for me, because it was a 4-star book for me, which is still very high, because the main character was a little bit stereotypical, and if not for these few pages where she goes on and on about how she thinks she's unattractive, that was like, I rolled my eyes so hard that they almost fell out of my socket. But that was the only part that really annoyed me, like deeply annoyed me about this book, and I'm glad I didn't DNF it, because sometimes these things make me DNF books, but I'm so glad I didn't, because I enjoyed this immensely. I really enjoyed the writing style. Everything else just worked so well. I wouldn't say that the writing style was amazing or like mind-blowing, but it really tied up with the type and style of the book, and I just felt like it was easy to read and it was somewhat thought-provoking, and I just think this is a great book. It's quite easy to read whilst it has substance, and I feel like, you know, it's balanced, so if you want a good balanced read. Anyway, strongly recommend this. I'm gonna shut up now because I feel like I always talk more than I anticipate on. Go read it if you wanna. If you don't feel like this is gonna be something you enjoy, then don't, you know. Let me know if you have, let me know if you want to. And I mean, if you're a sucker for covers, I mean, that's like, you know, reason enough. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more of this, please subscribe, and I hope you have a wonderful day ahead of you, and I will see you very soon. Bye!